Identify and expand the fractional factors in each term. So when I look for the fractional factors, I need to realize that the numerator and denominator end up being factors. So this first one, A, the negative outside the fraction would give me a factor of -1. A 3 in the denominator gives me a factor of 3. And a 7 in the denominator gives me a factor of 1/7. For B, the first thing I want to do is change this division. And dividing by 15 is the same as multiplying by 1/15. So the factor would be 1/15, and then the other factor is just -10. So here again we see the different factors. The x in the numerator is just a factor of x. The factor in the denominator is a 2 and y, but since they're in the denominator, it'd be 1/2 and 1 over y. Again, for the third one, or for D, since I'm dividing by this, I want to change that to invert and multiply to a factor. This would be a 35 over 10. And then I got the -5/7. And if I take each of the factors and piece them out, again, the negative outside the fraction, we can see as a -1. The 5 is in the numerator, so that's a factor of 5. The 35 is in the numerator, so that's a factor of 35. Any factor that's in the denominator would be 1 over that number, so the 7 in the denominator would be 1/7. A 10 in the denominator would be 1/10. Again, we want to be able to see the separate factors in each of the terms. So let me scroll up to get the bottom ones. What are the separate factors here? So we notice that the top has factors 30 times x times y plus 1. So 30 would be a factor, x would be a factor, and then this group factor, y plus 1. Any factor in the denominator would just be 1 over. So we'd also have a 1 over 10. Oops, sorry, hit the eraser. 1 over 10 and 1 over x and 1 over y plus 1. So these would be all the factors together. For F, the numerator has factors of 3 and x, so that factor would be 3, or those factors would be 3 and x if I expanded them. Because the fraction bar acts like a grouping symbol, the x plus 3 in the denominator is actually one factor, so that would produce a factor of 1 over x plus 3. So again, I'm treating the division bar as a grouping symbol. The same thing happens in G. When I look at these, I need to see them as a multiplication, as factors. So the division bar is grouping x plus 5 as a factor, and then x minus 5 as a factor. So the numerator would be the x plus 5, and then the denominator would be a factor of 1 over x minus 5. Same thing for H. Again, I want to recognize the denominator as a grouped factor. So then when I look at each factor in this term, we have a y in the numerator. That's just going to give me a factor of y. This y plus 7 is a group factor in the numerator, gives me a y plus 7 factor. But then the factor in the denominator would be a factor of 1 over y plus 7.